Bunny Boo pushed aside the heavy fabric and hopped off the edge of the bed. Sunlight hit the floor in sharp golden rectangles. A long, full-body stretch pulled the muscles tight before the first hop toward the door. Outside, the garden was alive. Rows of tulips stretched toward the fence, their petals thick and waxy under the rising sun. Bunny Boo moved in quick, unpredictable zigzags, chasing a flicker of blue wings that darted between the stems. High above the grass, a cluster of red and yellow balloons knocked against each other in the breeze, casting dancing shadows on the ground. The air smelled of damp earth and sweet nectar. Near a dense patch of daisies, the movement stopped. Ears swiveled toward the sound of a distant bee. 3 orange carrots lay partially buried in the loose dirt. Bunny Boo dug them out with both paws, selected the largest, and sat back on the grass. The first bite was loud and sharp, a clean snap that echoed in the quiet morning air. The garden felt vast and full of light, a perfect space for a morning feast. The carrot snap was crisp, a rhythmic sound against the soft rustle of the garden. Bunny Boo leaned back, eyes half closed, savoring the crunch. The morning was still, save for the hum of distant insects and the steady work of teeth against the root. Then, the silence shattered. A heavy, wet thud echoed from the edge of the nearby puddle. A spray of cool, dark mud arched through the air and landed squarely on the tip of the nose. Bunny Boo blinked, ears drooping under the sudden weight of the damp earth. The scent of wet soil filled the air. Across the grass, a small figure stood at the center of the puddle, water still dripping from outstretched wings. Duckling Dodo shook, sending a fresh wave of droplets spiraling into the light. Bunny Boo wiped the mud away with a quick swipe of a paw, looked at the dripping visitor, and let out a sharp, rhythmic sound. The tension of the surprise dissolved into movement. Bunny Boo hopped toward the puddle, pointing a paw at the messy intruder. The shock turned into a game of chase, feet thumping against the grass as they circled the muddy bank, leaving small, dark prints across the green expanse. The chase slowed as the air began to hum with a strange harmonic vibration. Bunny Boo and Duckling Dodo stopped, heads tilting in unison toward the center of the lawn. Above the daisies, the light began to refract, bending into a sharp, brilliant arc of color. A shimmering rainbow materialized against the clear blue sky, casting a soft, iridescent glow over the grass. The ground seemed to vibrate with the intensity of the light. Then, movement flickered from the shadows of the nearby hedge. Kitty Mimi bounded into the open, spinning in tight, controlled circles. With every rotation, light caught the air, trailing tiny, glowing particles that drifted down to settle on the blades of grass. The movement was calculated and graceful, a rhythmic dance that matched the hum of the rainbow. Kitty Mimi waved paws in a wide, sweeping arc, scattering more light across the field. The sparkles lingered, suspended in the air like dust motes caught in a sunbeam. Bunny Boo and Duckling Dodo took a step forward, drawn by the pulsing energy. The garden was no longer just a place of play. It had become a stage. Kitty Mimi finished a final sharp spin, landing perfectly in the center of the field, beckoning the others to close the distance. The energy in the air reached a steady, expectant peak as the 3 friends stood inches apart, ready for the next movement. The hesitation vanished as Bunny Boo, Duckling Dodo, and Kitty Mimi locked hands in a tight, inseparable circle. They leaned back, pulling against each other, and began to spin. At first, the movement was slow, a deliberate rhythm that matched the pulsing light of the rainbow above. Then, the pace accelerated. Feet drummed against the grass in a rapid, synchronized beat. Bunny Boo led the motion, jumping with enough force to kick up blades of grass, while Duckling Dodo and Kitty Mimi matched the intensity, their movements blurring into a single, kinetic shape. The air around them grew thick with motion. A swarm of blue butterflies took flight from the nearby tulips. Caught in the wake of the spinning group, they spiraled upward, a living vortex of wings and color that mirrored the frantic joy of the friends below. The camera circled the group, darting in and out, capturing the wide, bright expressions and the rapid-fire clapping of paws. Every rotation was faster than the last, the grass beneath them becoming a green smear against the bright sky. They clapped, they hopped, they turned, ignoring the world beyond their small, spinning orbit. The laughter was loud, a sharp sound that cut through the humming air as the entire garden seemed to rotate in sympathy with their dance. It was a peak of pure, unbridled energy, a moment where the movement, the sound, and the light fused into one singular, dizzying celebration. The spinning stopped. The butterflies scattered back into the hedges, and the humming air fell silent. Bunny Boo, Duckling Dodo, and Kitty Mimi stood in the center of the field, chests rising and falling in deep, steady rhythms. The golden light that had saturated the garden began to drain away. Overhead, the sky bled from bright blue into deep orange, then bruised purple. The three friends turned toward the small hill at the edge of the property. They walked in silence, their paws pressing into the cooling grass. At the crest of the hill, they sat side by side, shoulders touching. The warmth of the day lingered in their fur, but the evening breeze carried a sharp, crisp chill. They looked toward the horizon, watching the last sliver of the sun vanish behind the trees. The world grew quiet. The first white stars pricked through the darkening canopy above, steady and bright. Bunny Boo turned toward the camera, raised a paw in a slow, final wave, and let the lids fall over tired eyes. Beside, Duckling Dodo and Kitty Mimi leaned into each other, their breathing deepening into the slow, rhythmic cadence of sleep. The garden, the hill, and the three friends settled into the stillness, wrapped in the cool velvet embrace of the night.